Welcome to the latest edition of Business Spotlight. I'm joined today by Tim Lee, who's the Managing Director of Elite Fine Foods. So welcome, Tim, to the call.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Let's find out a little bit about what your organization does, Tim, who your customers are, and what it is that you offer and provide.
Well, we're a premium wholesale business based in New Haven. Our area of coverage is London and the Southeast. We've been around just over 30 years now, and strong, well-built customer base of primarily pubs, restaurants, hotels, and we're very strong in independent premium cafes as well.
It's an industry that's been obviously hit very hard in the last few years. It's a competitive industry anyway, with very, very tight margins. What lessons have you learned coming through the pandemic and into this new reality that we're now coming into?
Oh, wow, that's a question. I don't think we ever stop learning, really, in business, in day to day. But I spoke to a couple of friends, recently. There was no chapter in the business handbook of how to deal with a COVID situation.
No.
But if you look at that, I think sticking by what you know and what you're good at is super important. We've always dealt with customers and been very reactive to our customers' needs as well. So never was there more of a time that we needed to do that. We're an agile business. We're very flexible, but within our staff, but within the makeup of our business, that means that we can move quite swiftly and change, and that's specific to our customers, but specific to the economy or the industry as a whole. So I think if you look at the learnings from the last few years, it's about standing true to who you are and what you do, but also not being stuck in your ways so much that you can't move quickly, and having that agility to work closely with our customers, but also explore new options. We're always doing that. We're always looking to explore new options, new activity, and new opportunity. It's amazing how all of us can get stuck day to day doing the same things that we always do.
Yeah.
And sometimes there isn't that time to do it. So I think there's a big learning in what we all experienced in the last few years for that as well.
You mentioned specifically terms you used there were reactive and agile. You also referred to, not being stuck in your ways, and you didn't mention innovation, but essentially that's what you were talking about. I think a lot of challenge for people in the catering industry, I wonder if you agree, is that sometimes it's very difficult to adapt to the new reality. There's various challenges. Not only are there the pressures on margins, but there's the pressures on recruiting and retaining and finding staff to serve and all those sort of things. And then there's the price point pressures of prices having to go up and then manage the expectations of customers. To what extent do you engage with your clients to help them navigate these kind of decisions and encourage them to perhaps let go of some of the habits of how they've done business over the last few years and indeed before the pandemic?
I think communication is always key. If we look at any great business, at the heart of that is great communication. If we look at some of the poor service and poor businesses that we've all experienced over the years, that tends to be about poor communication as well. I think there isn't anyone in our industry that doesn't recognize the significant increases in core commodity lines and what that means to us, our products, and ultimately how we service our customer. But I think that communication never becomes more important, because actually, if we're looking at a lot of our customers, for example, will secure their menu for a period of time, and they'll rely on the prices that we can give them for those products to be able to understand their margins to their customers. I think the more that we can communicate with our customers and give them an understanding as to what price movements might be forthcoming in the future, that just gives them the ability to perhaps change their offering or their price or what it might be. A great example where you can kind of get caught in the middle. I was with a a pub group on the south coast, and they were talking about the importance of a standard staple English menu item, which is fish and chips that we all know and love. And the price point they're getting towards having to serve this fish and chips is closer and closer to the £20 mark, and that's good food, pub grub. They can't take it off the menu because it's such an important product to have on the menu, but they're finding it very difficult to keep it on the menu and retain the margins that they had previously. So I think when it comes to working with customers, it's recognizing those kind of situations and looking at, certainly for a business like ours, where we have quite a large range in differing price points of products, to be able to work with them and give them different options for them to change their menu and it still be suitable for their customers. Super important this day and age.
That's a really interesting example that you've given there. So fish and chips at approaching £20. If I was talking to directly to the business that was serving that, then I'd be emphasizing with them that their marketing has got to look at value. It's about the whole experience. It's not just about the cost of the food, but the whole experience. And I know that you work with high-end type institutions as well. Do you find yourself also getting involved in those kind of conversations about how to sell the product to the customers, or is that something that you leave to them and their own discretion?
Because we work with so many customers, we see lots of great examples of great businesses doing it in different ways. But the type of clients that we're dealing with, they're very clear in terms of their customer base, their product, the service. So, of course, we'll work and we'll be able to help with the different experiences that we have through a multitude of customers. But also it's around supporting the customers that clearly know their customer base and their offering and how they want to work. Because it may well be sometimes we may go and source an additional product for a customer. Sometimes we find customers will find a product and it might be quite a niche product that's not necessarily got a strong stance in the marketplaces yet. But we're happy to help these kind of customers bring these products in and serve them the products that they need. So yeah, I mean, we are lucky. The portfolio of customers that we have is second to none, really is. But I think that just likens it to the range that we offer.
Yeah. Tim, some of the clients that I've been working with in other areas have been struggling with supply chain issues and have had to find alternate sources in some cases for whatever it is they need to buy, or in some cases alternative options. When you are looking at your side of the business and looking and projecting your own purchasing, is that a challenge? That you talked about agility earlier, is that something that you have to really be mindful of? Is there a particular threat in the food industry on supply chain matters? Be interested to know.
I don't think there's anything new to add that others haven't spoken about before. We can see it. You only have to go and service your own vehicle at home to know how expensive it is, and that goes for ourselves as well as our suppliers as well. We're quite lucky in terms of where Elite sit. Elite are part of Cater Food Buying Group, which is a part of a number of specialist independent businesses.
Right.
And one of the beauties of being a part of that group means that we can bring together what we do across our customer base and look to look at the benefits that brings with it as well. So if you look at products as a great example, we know that volume is king when it comes to buying. So for us to bring our businesses together in the right way means that we can get some fantastic products and ensure the quality is super premium, but also have a more entry level range for our customers as well, if they want to bring in a product which is less about super premium quality but more price competitive. So we've got a large range that we can bring into play. So therefore, when it comes to supply chain, we have the opportunity to, with a much wider supply base, to be able to work together as those businesses and secure the best deals for our customers. But
So
having said,
economies of scale in the purchasing,
absolutely,
sharing of
yeah.
experience and knowledge, and also the range of diversity.
Absolutely, but also let's not forget all of those businesses are very much individual. You know, we have a different customer base. We're all placed regionally very differently in the UK as well, and with that, we want to we want to support locally as much as possible.
Mm.
I think there is a need from our customer base that they want to support locally as well. The UK, you know, having been in food service for over 30 years, it's absolutely phenomenal and across food and drink of the products that this country produces. It's just had its challenges. I think, you know, if you look across certain categories in the past where we've been far too reliant on suppliers outside of the UK, but I think all of us need to support that, the UK suppliers and producers and manufacturers.
There's a very, very powerful theme of collaboration coming through in our discussion today, and I think that's really refreshing, because quite often business owners see themselves as in the competitive space rather than the collaborative space. But you've really been extolling the virtues of collaboration and knowledge, shared knowledge as well. Tim, my final question really for you today is, what do you see as the challenges going forward in your sector? And it's very difficult, I know, to predict, as we've learned over the last couple of years. But in terms of your predictability, what do you think are the challenges in the near future for your sector?
I think we're far from out of the woods when it comes to the challenges across the economy. And I was only talking to one of the other businesses in the group, one of the other MDs this morning, and we were just talking about the fact of, you know, a lot of our businesses, you could retain 100% of your customer base,
Yeah.
and you would still see, a performance lower than previous years. So I think that will continue certainly in the next few months. There's far less money in people's pockets for them to go out and spend. What we are seeing is that, you know, families that were perhaps going out a number of times a week are going out a lot less, but they are looking to, when they do go out, to make sure they've got that quality. They can see some innovation, and they've got a time that they can talk about as well. So I think the biggest challenge that we face is really around the economy and the spare money in people's pockets as well. But specific to the industry, you know, in terms of the rates, the struggles it is, you can only look across each of those sectors within hospitality, how they've really, really struggled over the last couple of years. And that could be down to the rates that they're paying, but also staff is a real significant problem for them as well. So long may the government wake up to supporting our beautiful industry.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. So I suppose alongside the theme of collaboration is that of resilience. Maybe people don't wish to have to be quite so resilient, but it is there certainly amongst the survivors. And it's a cyclical industry, isn't it, in terms of how it does. It's been fascinating to hear your views and your advice, Tim. Thanks for joining us on this call today. And
No problem at all.
you know, strength to your arm going forwards.
Thanks, Gavin.